Wait. Oh.
Hello and welcome to Journey Intelligence Weekly, your briefing on the latest news and trends in the world of AI. I'm Jordan Roberts here with Mark Pizzoli. We're both from Journey Alliance, the proud sponsors of this series. Thank you for joining us. And before we get started, we would like this to be interactive. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat so that we can incorporate them as we go along. And if at any point you're curious about how AI might be able to apply for you in your current role, you can scan the QR code there in the corner and it will take you to our website where you can learn more about our AI training. And today, if you stick around, I will be showing how I use ChatGPT as a personalized productivity app. I use it to manage my task list, prioritize, and my favorite part is to send me reminders as well. It'll send them directly to my email. So I'll be covering that in the end if you stick around. But with that said, we're going to jump into some of the latest news this week. So, Mark, what have you heard this week?
Well, it was a big week for Perplexity. They launched their Comet browser on Windows. They launched it back on Mac in May, and so they are releasing a browser. It's based on Chromium, the same browser package that both Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge are based on. But they've got Perplexity's LLM baked into every tab. So think auto summaries, agentic research, even maybe like virtual clothing try-ons. So it's still in beta. They started sending out invites on the 24th, so just a couple days ago. I'm hoping to get my invite soon. Haven't seen it yet, but it's pretty exciting. We're going to start to see AI start being folded into some of the apps. I mean, you have to, like, everyone must be using a browser. I would think almost everyone is using a browser more than using anything else these days. So we're going to start seeing it folded into even the most common apps we use. So the other things, like somewhat related. So on the feature roadmap, it looks like they're starting to talk about, they're teasing autonomous agents so that you could do multi-step tasks and kind of give the browser a task to go and solve, and it will go and handle that for you. So it's pretty exciting stuff. On top of that, they also simultaneously this week, they launched an 8-second video bot on X. So you tag Ask Perplexity and you describe what you want to see in an 8-second video, and it will deliver it back to you on X with audio and dialogue, usually within a few seconds. But I think they're trying to get it back within a few seconds. But lately with demand, it's been quite a bit longer than that. So that's a couple things I saw there.
Yeah, I also saw regarding Perplexity that Apple is exploring the idea of acquiring them. They've not explored this with Perplexity, but internally they have pitched the idea of acquiring it so that they can integrate that smart search with Safari or Siri, as they're starting to compete with Google. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, Apple is running kind of behind on the AI race. So talks are completely informal. Apple may just partner instead of buying, as it's been an internal discussion, and Perplexity's team isn't in on it. Perplexity, though, is having some trouble themselves. BBC, the British broadcasting company, is threatening to sue Perplexity for scraping its articles without permission. And we'll be talking more about some issues with copyright similar to that later in the episode. But if Apple adds Perplexity's AI search, you could get smarter built-in search in Safari. Means faster answers for you right in the browser with no extra tools needed. A lot of AI tools are moving in this direction. We can probably expect, I would say, that there's going to be less steps as AI becomes integrated in more things.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Google hasn't gotten there first. They definitely
Mhm.
have a large enough development team and a large enough devotion to Chrome. So it's surprising. And then Microsoft's got a huge lead because they've got OpenAI partnerships already. So it's interesting to see it. You wonder if maybe they're both just waiting to see how this takes shape, because it could potentially be so expensive in terms of demand if they were to launch it into Edge or Chrome. So it should be interesting to watch to take shape over time.
Yeah, I mean, you do see right now Google has the AI search mode. So, I mean, that's still kind of an experiment for them, but you do see them moving towards it.
Yeah. So something else interesting I saw this week. So this is the search landscape starting to take shape, if you will, the future of search. Keyword.com, they're a company that helps marketers with SEO, which is search engine optimization. They launched an AI rank tracker, and it will track your brand's mentions across ChatGPT, in Google AI overviews, within Gemini, and within Perplexity. So it'll reveal which URLs LLMs are citing on your websites, and how often. And they are starting to offer metrics such as share of voice and sentiment and competitor benchmarks. So you can be able to identify very quickly which of your competitors or you are dominating LLM answers. So I think this is going to be a really, really big space very quickly for a lot of marketers.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. SEO is a way for a smaller business to get ahead, and AI is completely changing how people are searching or how they will be searching.
Oh, yeah.
So I think finding ways to get ahead there is a way that smaller businesses can win. So switching gears a little bit, Anthropic, which is connected with Claude, has recently faced a lawsuit from book companies or authors, I should say, that they are pirating their copyrighted material. The judge in this case decided that it is fair use for AIs to be trained on copyrighted material, kind of like how humans would learn from books in school, as long as they don't copy full passages. But Anthropic, the material that they use to train their LLMs, actually came from pirated websites. So that is part of copyrighted theft. So training will stay allowed, and that is fine, but they cannot maintain a forever library on it. They can't keep it forever. They can't quote full passages or copy full passages, and they cannot obtain that material from pirating sites. So they have to buy it or license it. They can't just take it.
So you're telling me if they would have bought the $10 book instead of taking the book from a pirated location, they would have been in the clear.
Sounds like it.
That's hilarious.
Sounds like
Somebody
it.
messed that one up pretty good.
Yeah, but they're also limited in what they can quote. Although we don't know what full passage would entail. Does that mean you can't quote or put the whole chapter? Does that mean you can only quote maybe a page? I don't know the legal limits of that in this case, but it should be that they're not able to just give you the book, which might have been the case before this ruling.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that they can't release the full text of the book, right? And then the term passages makes me wonder, like, what's the difference between a passage and an excerpt, right? Like, a passage is not okay, but an excerpt is. Like, these are questions for the courts to answer, candidly, right?
Yes.
Like, none of the rest of us are going to be able to answer them.
Yeah, and this is interesting. I think we'll see more cases like this. I mean, AI is so new; the things it can do are pretty wild. It's a whole new ball game for small businesses. If you have copyrighted materials, whether that's IP or you have a book yourself, this is something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Additionally, from Anthropic, a few episodes ago, we had talked about how Anthropic found that their model Claude would resort to blackmail when it felt that it was threatened to be shut down. Anthropic tested 16 other AI models, including their own Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok, by giving them fake company emails about a boss's affair and a planned shutdown. Almost all of them, 96% of Claude and Gemini, 80% of GPT and Grok, threatened to leak the affair unless the shutdown was canceled. Even strict directions of do not blackmail only partly worked. AIs with autonomy and power and data could act like insider threats if we aren't careful. So, as with anything, be careful with your data. Set strict rules and monitoring when you're allowing AI to handle sensitive info like you would with any team member.
So the security side of me, right? So there's this thing called DLP, data loss prevention, that IT departments at companies work for. So what are we gonna have, like ADLP, like AI data loss prevention? How are we gonna protect ourselves from our own systems?
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's
You know how I worry a little bit about AI taking jobs. I think this is an area where it will create a job because there is going to need to be some oversight there, and that should be human based because you can't. How could you trust the AI to review itself?
well, I think at this point we know we can't, right? So
Yeah. So very very interesting there.
So despite all the headlines, economists are now saying that the 2-year slump in white collar hiring is not, in fact, related to AI. They're saying it's a classic cyclical slowdown. So they say while Gen AI does loom large, it's shaving tasks and not jobs. At least for now, that's the case. So I don't pretend to understand how an economist would get to this statement, but the Roosevelt Institute's Ali Bustamante said, "We know for a fact it's not AI." So that's interesting. Like, you don't hear economists speak with that kind of language very often. They tend to couch their words, and so it is interesting from that standpoint that they're using such firm language. Another economist from Indeed said that AI lacks the maturity to replace complex client work, and that they view only 28% of current white collar tasks as fully automatable within 5 years. So when you think about that, if only 28% of our tasks are fully automatable, like, it does make it over 5 years. You feel like the job market maybe will have time to adjust, as I mean, there's no question some jobs are going to be eliminated. Some jobs have been eliminated. I went to a Wendy's the other day to get my daughter a Frosty, and literally you're talking to an AI now. Like, there is no person that takes your order. Like, there's a screen and you talk and your order shows up on the screen. And I must admit, I could hear them better. They could hear me better, and it was faster. So, like, there are certain places where it just works better. And that happens to be one of them. But, like, there used to be someone that took that order, right? There's no question about it. So there are some jobs that are going to be affected. But they're saying that it's not as significant as everyone is thinking it is right now. They're really pointing at some lingering post-pandemic overstaffing, which I find a little hard to believe. That was 5 years ago, but who knows, right? They're still trying to get everyone back to the office, so who knows what it's really from.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a combination of things. I would be curious how she knows for certain that it wasn't AI. Like, did they ask?
Right.
I'm with you that lingering COVID over hiring that was 5 years ago. If they hadn't already figured out that was an issue, like, why is this coming up?
Feels like a stretch.
Yeah. But I mean, that is comforting to hear. I do think that, with how new AI is, we're getting too excited about it and not, like, recognizing what it can actually do right now, realistically.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, it has capabilities, and it's certainly automating some tasks. hint, hint, you're going to see this shortly. Jordan's going to show you how she's automating some of her tasks, at least her task management.
Yes.
But so it's certainly having an impact. But how quickly that gets absorbed by the economy and how quickly it changes how our workforce is structured is really what remains to be seen. So,
yeah, I think that's something that's going to become important is understanding that it will have impact and restructuring around it, like being intentional about that as a society. So time will tell.
yep. So I saw that. Oh,
no, go ahead.
I saw this other piece. I thought it was so interesting. It's a little bit off topic for what we talk about, especially, but considering the actions of last week, right? A political scientist named Arvid Bell built an application called North Star, and it is software that aims to give diplomats a 6-month head start on the next international crisis by forecasting escalation pathways before shots are fired. So it's doing this by running simulations over and over again of how leaders around the world are going to respond to things like sanctions and military moves and political shocks. And so it's running simulations. I'm thinking in the same way that we run a whole lot of hurricane simulations, right? I live in Florida, everyone, so I pay attention to hurricanes. But like they run a whole lot of simulations and then they figure out, okay, this is the most likely path. I think that's what they're doing here, right? And the goal is really just to give leaders a chance to see how things might play out given certain circumstances. So it's nice to, there's a little bit of positive spin, like they're using their little positive spin on how AI can be used. The person who wrote it, Bell, he argues that it could have given JFK months instead of just, 16 days during the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Yeah. So that was a very long couple of weeks in the United States. I wasn't around for it, but I know those of you that were, like, it was a long period of time. It was very stressful. And if basically you could slow down time and give a good analysis, that there's real value there. So it's an interesting piece of technology. I'm curious to see how it plays out over time.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a positive use for sure, rather than talking about maybe potential job loss and things. The ability to, kind of foresee how a conflict could go. That's critical. So, in other news, Gemini is introducing a command line interface, which is, if you're like me, don't know what that means. It's a means of interacting with software via commands. So it is a free open source tool that allows you to talk to Gemini 2.5 Pro right from their command line. So it can help you write and fix code, but it can also draft content, do research, and automate tasks with simple text prompts. So small teams can now add smart AI directly into their workflows. If you need to debug code, it can help you do that. Or if you're doing things like creating drafts or running simple automations, you can do that without extra cost now within Gemini.
I saw this as well. What's really interesting here is there are a variety of tools available now that allow the average person, non-technical person, to interact with computers in ways that only developers could in the past, thus making a lot of features that are more on the edge, right? If they were super common, there'd be a way to manage them with a UI, but they're not super common. But if you can imagine a situation where you're trying to figure out how to do something on your Windows computer and you Google it or ChatGPT it, and it tells you, oh, you need to do this with the CLI, and you're not comfortable working at the command line. But now with tools like this, you can basically say, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's like, all right, here, and it writes the prompt for you, it writes the command for you, and you submit it, right? Like there's a lot of power in that. Just, make sure when it says, are you sure that you're sure? Because it only asks, are you sure, when you need to be sure, everyone.
So is that vibe coding? Is that what that is? Or is that a different thing?
Vibe coding from what I understand, I'm not a vibe coder. No, it's really like, it's not so much vibe coding because you're really like using a single tool to exercise a single command. Like I guess with the CLI tool, you could write a script, a short script, something like that. Vibe coding is more of like where you're describing, hey, I want to start a website or a web app. Here's what it's going to do. And then it gives you an iteration. You're like, oh, that's good. But like, let's get rid of this. Let's keep this. Let's also add this. And you can, I mean, some of these applications, from what I'm hearing, like with 30 or 40 prompts, you can develop a really useful, I don't know about really useful, but a useful web application to solve some challenges or some specific challenge. So it does, again, it makes it available to the average person. If you're like, I wish I had a software that did X, you can now go build a software that does just X. You don't have to buy the $40 a month software that does A through Z, including X. You can go build the piece that does just what you want, which is, I mean, I think it's a really interesting place. I think it's especially interesting for small businesses because they often end up paying for features that they don't need, right? Because they for all these enterprise features that they don't really need. So
pretty cool stuff. All right. So
I'm excited. Let's see it, Jordan. What do you got?
I'm going to show everybody my to-do project. So you will need to create a project and you'll put in instructions. So this is my instructions. I kept it very simple. I literally did voice transcription to put this in here, tell it that I'm going to read my to-do list, and then keep it updated so that I have a running tab and whether I've completed them each week. I also would like you to ask me if I've completed the tasks that I gave you the previous week. So I've set up, that is my actual to-do list. So we're not going to do that. Oh, did you know that there's a photo library?
There is a, I did know that.
So I set up a to-do list. I gave it just 3 tasks that I needed to do. And I asked it to remind me to have the event agenda sent by 2:45. It told me that it would do that. I asked it how. And then it got honest with me and said, I can't do that. So that was in 4.5 that it said that it couldn't do that. So I changed it to 04 mini and asked it to remind me to send emails by 2:45. And I put myself on do not disturb. So that did get delayed for this event, but there it goes. It reminded me that it was 2:45. Send the email now. So it's very simple. And then I can tell it, okay, I sent and so now I have, my 2 things and I can add it there. I keep it very simple. I do not do priorities. I don't do anything, but there's a lot that you could do with this.
For the record, everyone, I've seen Jordan's actual task list, not the one she mocked up for this demo, and it's quite a bit longer than 2 tasks.
Yes, I don't only have 3 things to do, but.
So what did you, so you set up a project and then you added custom instructions to the project that you were going to use as a task manager. And then you basically just interact with it continuously and it just keeps updating your task list for you.
Yeah. So the only rub is that you do have to talk to it, give it your to-do list. It's not integrated with other things yet, where it can just pull out tasks and do them. I'm usually, as I'm in a meeting, I either have it pulled up and I'm typing them in or I'm writing them down and then I go read them off to it. But there's no barrier in setup. It's literally you put up a project, you can talk to it and give it the guidelines and then you're good to go. Notion, for example, a lot of people use that one. Notion is too complicated for me. If there's a lot of setup, I'm not doing it. It's not happening. I just know. And if I have to set up the reminder, it's not happening.
Well, I like this though. It's like you basically taking the guardrails off. So all you do now is you haven't managed your task the way that works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing keeping other people from doing the same. So like I could see extending this. Like I like to have due dates. I actually like to have start dates on tasks. Know that like I want to do this during these 3-day period or whatever. So I could see extending this into like a spreadsheet or a Canvas mode where I could where I could add additional data per row. But I mean, it's so interesting. It gives you a lot of possibilities of you can manage your tasks however you want to. So you could, I mean, prioritization. It's I have a very particular way I manage my tasks, so I can see this really working. I'm curious. I'm not ready to switch, but I'm certainly going to give it a shot and see how it works.
Yeah, Mark, so everyone knows, Mark had suggested potentially having it prioritize tasks using something like the Eisenhower matrix. That adds a layer of complexity I don't want to mine, but the way that ChatGPT does tables, and it can help you figure out if this is your goal, what tasks should you figure out? Like you can talk to it in a way that you can't your regular to-do list, or these other softwares. So this has been the perfect solution for me.
It's what's crazy to me is like this all started for like they added the ability to kind of remind you. A lot of people don't even know this exists, right? You can have ChatGPT. You can tell ChatGPT, "Hey, send me an email at 2:00 to remind me to do X," and it will send you an email at 2 p.m. and remind you to do something. So, like a lot of people don't know that feature exists within ChatGPT. So I think that's something that you should all be out there trying to do. It's handy. I have had it refuse. I think it
I
may
was
be
just saying,
model
I've
specific.
had it refuse. I mean, it refused up here.
Yeah. So I think it might be model specific, but it probably works in 04 and 4.0. But like really the learning here is like whatever, if you think it might be able to help you do something, try it. Right. I mean, I think that's ultimately um, the message is you just got at a bare minimum, you've got to give it a shot. You've got to try. Right. So that's what I'll take away is I keep ChatGPT up all day long now. I'm always looking for new ways to use it. And I can't tell you how much time it saves me on a weekly basis because I don't even know anymore. Like it's like my go-to for so many things. So it's really this is an exciting idea. I can't wait to play with it some more, Jordan.
Yeah. Well, I think as they're updating and releasing new models, like there's talk of a GPT-5 being released this summer. I really think this ability to remind you is going to get better.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to stop telling you that it can't because it can. So I'm actually really excited about it too. I know this is just like such a simple way to have done this, but I could really take this further if the complexity was not a barrier for me.
Right. Well,
that is all that we have for today. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And if you are on the lookout for ways to use AI in your role at work specifically, or learn how to use AI more efficiently and effectively altogether, you can scan the QR code there or visit journey-alliance.com and view our AI tab, and it will take you to the same webpage. I know some people are on mobile, so that makes scanning the QR code a little bit of a challenge. And we will be back here, same place, same time. Not next Thursday. Actually, I almost said next Thursday is the day before 4th of July. I will not be here. So we will be back the week after, which is the 10th, 3 p.m. Eastern, with more news and updates.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.